I just need that box. What could possibly go wrong? It could have been worse. Today on Dead Dodge Garage, it's a response to a viewer request for a video. That's right, 2 entire people want to know, what's in your toolbox? The simple answer, as you can plainly see here, a horrible mess. Please hold. For some backstory, if you don't know, until July, I was actually a professional mechanic. I ran my own shop, and I learned a lot from that. I mean, a lot. The thing I learned the best, I think, how to spend money. When you're in a position like I was, it's something that's easy to justify, because, of course, these tools are your livelihood. The way I ran the business, if I needed something, I just bought it. By operating that way, I ended up with a very comprehensive set of tools. Pretty cool. It's nice having everything you need, but, well, I did kind of invest one whole college education in the operation. In fact, if my daughter's watching this from the future, I apologize. So when I finally closed my repair business after, struggling for several years because I'm bad at stuff, it sort of seemed like a shame. Here I have invested all this money in these tools and they're just gonna sit in my garage at home. Oh, come on. Judging by how half this toolbox gets emptied into a pile on the ground every week or two, that's clearly not a problem. Why is this even here? I think we all know the answer to that. If you shouted mental illness in the background, well, yeah, you're right, but you don't have to be so rude about it. I think this poor thing has outlived its usefulness. I am Groot. There we go. That's much better. Now, did I get distracted for an hour? Of course I did. I guess before we can talk about what's in the box, we should talk about the box. This is a Matco 6S Series Triple Bay with matching hutch. I have a Matco toolbox for one simple reason. The Matco guy gave me credit. Of the major tool companies that sell toolboxes, it certainly wasn't the cheapest. In fact, at this point, I don't even remember how much it cost. I know it was a lot. I actually owned a 2-bay prior to this, used one without the fancy power outlets and such, and I traded that in against this. I should have known I was getting bent over when the guy gave me almost double what I paid on my trade-in, but that's a different story. I think I paid $9,500 for this box brand new, which seems like a lot for a box that you put tools in. Later, I had the hutch ordered, and I'm glad I did. I love having that. I should have just gotten it with the box to begin with, but that cost another, I don't know, thousands. I don't remember if it was $2,500 or $4,000. I mostly bought the hutch to store the fancy touchscreen shop computer that barely works, and the Snap-on Zeus scanner right here, which, well, I don't have anymore because I returned it. Instead, I have the world's cheapest hotel scanner with the Bluetooth dongle. It was the world's cheapest scanner because it was literally free. If you give the Matco guy $14,000 for a toolbox, later he'll let you also give him $80 for this crappy Bluetooth speaker that also breaks. And then, because you've given him, $14,080, he'll let you give him another $45 for this piece of crap. At least I got a nice coat out of the deal, right? Or did I have to pay for that too? Can't remember. It might sound like I'm ragging on my local Matco representative a bit right now. Anyway, I actually really like the 6S toolbox. The Triple Bay was a game changer because, well, when we got it, we ran the entire shop just out of this box and we needed all the space we could get. The built-in power is nice, except, well, the USB ports just break for fun. I suppose this is a problem with any flip-up hutch door, but this thing collects dust to an amazing level. It's bad. This hutch was custom ordered just for me to match my toolbox that I paid a whole crap ton of money for. So naturally, they screwed up. And instead of installing the matching chrome emblem, they installed this, which was supposed to be red. But it's actually pink. And those horrible scuff marks are from the first time I cleaned dust off of this horrible hutch door. It's fine. Everything's fine. Would I do it all again? I really like it. But I also like the Mac toolboxes and the Snap-on, the newer style, the Epic or whatever. I don't really like the slidey locky things. I really don't like Cornwall boxes. They're horrible. The Matco's pretty good. I'm happy with it, which is good because I think I'm stuck with it for life. It also has a matching friend. More on that in a minute. At first glance, it looks like I'm a humongous Matco fanboy. And the top drawer, well, sort of agrees with that because there's a good bit of Matco stuff over here. The first thing you're going to notice is I'm actually fairly well organized in my toolbox. This thing was my bread and butter, you know, my money maker. Day in, day out. This thing paid the bills, so I decided a few years ago I needed to really take care of it and keep things organized. A big part of my inspiration to keep my tools organized, well, just about every other toolbox I've ever seen. Mechanics tend to be a little on the sloppy side. I am too, but not in my main toolbox. We started out buying lots of Matco stuff because, well, it was slightly cheaper than Snap-on. And the previous business, which we sort of bought out, also had invested heavily in Matco stuff. I use Matco ADV impact sockets for all of my half-drive stuff, at least. And they're fine. I only ever managed to snag a couple of these Mac socket sets, and I really like them. I'm trying to keep them nice. See, I'm doing a great job there. Unfortunately, my Mac rep moved to Florida, so I can't buy them any more friends. I use Snap-on digital torque wrenches. They're great. They beep and vibrate when you really screw up. It's nice having something reliable and consistent to torque engine fasteners with, so I'm very pleased with this investment. But between the two of them, it's something like $1,200, so... ugh. This is Old Faithful. Precision half-drive click-style torque wrench that we used in the shop forever. Nothing wrong with it. I hardly use quarter drive at all, and it kind of shows because I really don't have much quarter stuff. These are like AutoZone Duralast brand that I got for $10 from a very questionable individual. They're fine. There are a couple Snap-on sets in here, but, well, there's more to find. This is my main socket and handle drawer. I see a couple missing pieces. There's no one else to yell at about that. For sockets and ratchet handles, it's Snap-on all the way. I really like these semi-deep sets. These two here do like everything for me. Everything. They're semi-deep. So, you know, not too shallow, not too deep. Almost perfect for everything. My standard set is chrome. Yeah, I might use those as impact sockets. This is my very heavily used metric semi-deep impact set. They do collect crap on the bottom and, well, they're plastic, so they don't last forever. But these magnetic holders are awesome. Love them. This is my old semi-deep holder, which I put some 12-point sockets in. It's seen some stuff. Note, the 9mm socket is in very good condition compared to the rest. There's a reason for that. The 10 actually looks pretty good too, but that's only because I've had to replace it 4 times. These are very expensive sockets. In fact, they don't get much more expensive. But as my first Snap-on rep told me, once you use the good stuff, you won't want to go back. And he's right. My ratchet drawer also used to be full of Matco stuff, like these. The 3/8 one, I think I had it repaired 7 times before I finally gave it away and switched to Snap-on, which I'm very happy with. There's a lot of stuff in this box. Let me show you my single favorite thing. 3/8 drive, mini head, flex, Snap-on ratchet. That's the best tool they got on the truck, friend. Okay, this little fella's pretty good too. But the flex head is excellent, especially for dumb Ford stuff. Some of my Snap-on tools are random old used things, like this. Actually had this rebuilt recently too, before we lost yet another Snap-on rep. It's a recurring theme around here. I do have one Mac ratchet, this fairly long handle flex head, and I really like it. I did break it the day I bought it, and then the flex lock wore out. Other than that, it's been really good. Unfortunately, I can't break this either because I don't have a Mac rep anymore. That's a problem. This is one of those Snap-on sawed-off Assault half-inch ratchet handles. I bought this for one specific job, and I've never used it since. All of my extensions are Matco. They're fine. These impact extensions with locking ends are actually Mac, and they're really good. I keep losing them for some reason. This horribly weathered thing here, my lug nut set. Yeah, it's seen some times. This is my main wrench drawer. Note again, careful organization. And missing pieces for some reason. The bulk of this drawer is filled with 3 gear wrench sets. Metric, standard, and flex head metric. Yeah, there's a few missing. I actually don't know what that's about. Might have to go find some more gear wrenches. This set of metric snap-on wrenches comes with a story. The only snap-on thing that was in our toolbox when we took over that original business was a set just like this. They got stolen, among several other very specific tools. Never did figure out what that was about. Turns out this is like a $600 set of ratcheting wrenches, so ouch. Again, snap-on's great and all, but honestly, as far as ratcheting wrenches go, the gear wrenches are fine. These snap-on sets over here were all used tools, which is great because again, they're expensive. I have these 6-point closed-end long wrenches, short wrenches, and those double opens with funky angles. Usually those come in handy for diesel fuel injection lines, and that's about it. Oh, I also have a set of those. I never use those. Here's the magic power drawer in the 6S box. It's full of things charging. I used to keep the Zoo scanner in here so it would be locked and secured before I got the hutch. That was silly. All of my lower drawers are mostly full of boxed items. There are also some air tools I never use here. The little stubby 1/2 inch is handy at times for harmonic balancers and such. There's also a humongous 3/4 inch Harbor Freight Special, which I think I used once. This is my primary plier drawer. One of the things in here, nice set of Mac vice grips. Those are one of the first tools I ever bought from Mac. I think I still have the bag actually. This is the first thing I ever bought from Cornwell. They're not actually Cornwell tools, they're Knipex or whatever. My friend Connor calls these nitpicks, and I like that quite a bit. They're really good pliers. The problem is, I've lost every one of those, and I've ruined the needle nose several times. I also bought these cute little ones, which I've literally never used. These brain picks here for popping hoses off of things are actually a relatively recent addition, not that you can tell. Proto adjustable wrench. I bought this for one job because my cheapo adjustable wrench was like a 1/16 of an inch too small at full open. I barely use this thing, but I really like it. Here you'll find various name brand pliers, spark plug wire tool, different hose clamp tools, kind of cool, and a pair of scissors I stole from my mother. Ooh, here's something essential. Flush cuts for zip ties. Plier drawer 2. In here you'll find stuff I mostly never use. This goofy set of ragged orange-handled Matco pliers, actually one of the few things left over from the original shop toolbox. Line clamps, handy sometimes. I even have one big enough for radiator hoses. Okay, I use these all the time, like on every single mail truck. I have a really nice set of Mac carbide scrapers that I pretty much never use. And razor blade scrapers, more carbide scrapers that I used to use, and a Victorinox. That thing will cut your fingers off. Oh yes, I also have the giant Knipex pliers, which are great for compressing caliper pistons. Here's wrench drawer number 2. It actually really bothers me that I have to keep these down here, but unfortunately, these fancy Mac wrench holders are too tall to go in any drawer but that one, well, those I guess. Yeah, so here they are. I really like these sets. I'll fold that up and take it over to any job, and works really nicely, so I keep them in there. This is my hammer drawer. Everyone needs a hammer drawer. My hammer drawer used to be over there, and it was just a pile of hammers and a real mess, so I kind of like this setup more. I did unfortunately lose one of those brass drifts somewhere. No idea what that's about. There are other random things in here. A really nice Mac punch set, chisels, that sort of thing. Some files, some random oil filter wrenches, CV axle tool, wire brushes. There's all kinds of stuff in the hammer drawer. Back at the bottom of the box, boxed things. The coolant pressure tester was a very expensive piece when we bought it, and I always insisted on keeping it in here, but it's huge, so it's kind of inconvenient. There's all sorts of stuff in here. Harmonic balancer puller, harmonic balancer installer, rear axle bearing kit for like those Dakotas and Durangos and S10s and such. Transmission fill kit for those goofy European transmissions. I don't tell anyone I have that. Ooh, here's an antique. Torque sticks. Don't use those anymore. And under that, the special helicoil kit for those Camrys to strip out head bolts. Serpentine belt kit, block tester or head gasket leak tester, which I haven't been able to get to work for years now. The fluid just doesn't do the thing it's supposed to do. There's all kinds of useful stuff hiding in here. There's a Noid light set. There's an AC compressor clutch tool set that's almost never useful. I'm prepared for most eventualities. Kind of silly for a guy that just works on stuff at home. This is my junk drawer. Everyone needs a junk drawer. I have one. Or 2. Or 10. Mostly this thing contains PPE, random little things like window holders, rags obviously, thread locker, ooh, snap-on thermal imager. That's a great tool. Also, all of those calendars the tool guys give me that I won't display but refuse to throw in the garbage. What used to be my hammer drawer is still a mess. It's full of, hammer adjacent things and pulling tools. Also, 2 completely ruined sockets that I use for U-joints. One of the most useful things in here, actually. Can't forget this steering wheel puller, which my brother and I have had forever. Ooh, line bender. And spring tool for S10 doors, which I'm not going to tell anyone I have. This is my screwdriver drawer. In the beginning, this drawer was a pile of screwdrivers. Now it looks like this, and I'm much happier. We exclusively used these Matco screwdrivers in the shop for years and years. But after watching a random AVE video, I decided I really wanted one of these snap-on sets. So I bought them, and I'm very happy. But unfortunately, I can't get them warrantied out anymore, so that could be a problem. There's also a Cornwall pick set in here. Me get distracted? No, that doesn't make sense. Under the screwdriver drawer is this. It's just kind of random stuff. There's a spline socket for weird lug nuts. There's the Dodge hub smacker tool to get the hub assemblies out of solid front axle 4-wheel drives. Line cutters, flare tools, weird little driver sets I've never used. Quick disconnect tools, which I mostly don't need anymore. There's quite a bit of money in helicoil kits just right here. Also some stripper sockets and a riveter. Here's a drawer full of pullers and a really nice slide hammer. Oh, also a cool snap-on compression tester that I bought used. I think there's a leak down tester in here somewhere too. There's some things in here to see too, like my really expensive snap-on tape measure. I'm kind of into lights, mostly these stream lights. This one says Cornwell on it, but it doesn't matter. They're all the same. This is an HL, which is plenty bright. I used to have one of these that said Matco on it, and it was an absolutely horrible piece of garbage. These are the Costco special. 30 bucks for 2 of them. Yeah, they're a little on the cheap side, but they work great. And up here on the party deck, as you can see, I've got most of the rest of my big tool sets. Anything in one of those giant Casey thingies that doesn't fit in those bottom drawers, this is where it goes. I've got line pluggy thingies for banjo fittings and every other type of fitting, really. I've got cam lock tools that are worthless. There's a Mighty Vac. There's front end, ball joint popper, Pitman arm tool, 2 sets of pickle forks. The big ball joint set, which is missing a bunch of the adapters. Still really heavy though. Some of my engine building tools there. Twist caliper tools. Strut spring tools, which I hope to never use again. A mini ductor. That's cool for heating crap up. The good timing light. The good snap ring pliers. Locking lug nut socket set. A really crappy air hammer. And Ford timing tools. Ugh. And this stuff. You might have noticed this in my hutch. This is one of those grip mat things. They're advertised as being flexible and you can throw them up on an engine or on a wheel and, throw your tools and stuff in there and it's grippy so it won't slide off. Yeah, try carrying tools in it. Everything falls out. It's really annoying and horrible and basically a waste of money. So I use mine to keep the clutter down in the hutch here. Oh yeah, mag trays and gloves. So there it is, my toolbox. But wait, there's more. Some really nice matte pry bars, which I've almost killed myself with several times. There's an almost empty can of Croyle that I pretty much just keep around for the smell. For some reason, my fan clutch tool set's under there. Probably because the case is broken. There's junk everywhere, you know, Dodge truck parts and Barracuda parts and air tools that barely work and that sort of thing. Cornwell trim clip tool set, not bad. There are my little quarter drive bits and a couple assorted air tools as well. Also a breaker bar I never used. More assorted air tool stuff and a slide hammer set I never used. Those things suck. Now here's one of my favorite drawers, the power tool drawer. Usually these really dirty ones are like out scattered on the floor somewhere, but sometimes I put them away. Currently in here I've got 2 electric ratchets, one of which is dead because it's been well abused. A quarter drive impact I never use, but I really like it because it's cute. A quarter hex drive, I sometimes use this one. A well-used DeWalt drill. Old Faithful here, which I have replaced once. The first one kind of came to pieces. And half-inch Old Faithful, which I think has also been warranted once. Now that I'm not using these, 10 hours a day, more like 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, they seem to be holding up pretty well. Oh, I do have a cheesy Mac branded light here that I never use. It kind of sucks. I used the hell out of this thing until, well, the anvil head broke. It spins until you put any resistance on it at all, and then it just does nothing, so. No Mac guy means no warranty. And sure, I could call somebody and mail it off, but that's way too much work. This is the drilling drawer. It's full of drill bits. Also taps. Pipe taps too. This is my Torx and hex drawer. It's a mess and I always forget where it is. Oh yeah, it's got line wrenches in it too for some reason. Oh look, another junk drawer. Full of a camera I forgot about, some hats I'll never wear, and assorted parts and lengths of rope. You never know when you're gonna need some rope. Oh, also some artistic drawings from early Mopar Guide videos. We bought this cart because, well, it matched the toolbox. And when we first got it, my brother used that as his toolbox when we first sort of separated things. Eventually, he got his own extremely large, very expensive Snap-on, and he didn't need this thing anymore, which is great, because its original intended application was to be the mobile version of this. I should have this thing filled with all the tools I use the most, and it should be over in the middle of the shop where I can reach it, and I don't have to walk 100 feet every time I need something. Unfortunately, I'm just not that smart, so it's kind of more toolbox. Speaking of more toolbox, there's more. This is my old toolbox. I actually had this at the shop for a while. This is what I packed all the stuff into after I traded my home Matco toolbox for the toolbox charger. It's still all loaded and ready to go. I really don't need it anymore, but here it is. Well, here it is for now. It might rust to pieces because apparently there's a leak. Hey, those are headlights for the Power Wagon. I should install those someday. I have a toolbox hoarding problem, if you haven't noticed. This used to be my go box that I kept in my 61 Dodge Sweepline flatbed truck. This is the one I've had the longest. It might have been my dad's, not sure, mostly full of garbage. This one came from my old manager at O'Reilly when he moved. It's got little bits in it, which I should probably move into, well, those bins over there that are full of little bits. I rescued this box from a scrapyard. It's full of junk too. I did have a nice toolbox for sandpaper and sanding tools, but I gave that to Jordan, so now they live in here. This crazy old thing is full of fittings and such. This one was my grandpa's. It's full of wiring stuff, which I pretty much don't use anymore. My friend Connor gave me this Dayton box, which I really like. I don't know if you can tell from the video, but it's actually humongous, and when I filled that with all my mechanics tools, it was pretty much impossible to move. I was going to bolt it down to a flatbed at one time, but instead I put it here, under the bench, and it's full of random stuff. Because I really like the Dayton box, but it was way too heavy to use, I bought this Homac, brand new. It's a similar awful brown color, and someone stepped on it like immediately after I bought it, and it's never been the same. Anyway, this was my go box for the shop. Anytime I had to do a mobile job, I'd grab this thing. So there's, a whole usable set of wrenches and some screwdrivers and various pliers and spark plug sockets and Ford bits, because a lot of the mobile jobs I had to do, Ford coils and plugs. Figure that one out. But that's not all. I also have this cart, the wiring cart. This is full of all kinds of good stuff, actually. Things I need all the time for stuff like, wiring a Barracuda from scratch. And that brings us to this, my last toolbox, I think, unless I'm forgetting something. This is the Go Box I bought to be a companion piece with the Demon. It's blue and it's covered in, stickers. As you can see, I have a lot of tools. Some nice tools, some high quality stuff, expensive stuff. So how much of that do I use for, my fancy new day job that pays good money and I work on classic cars all day? None of it. I use this. I put this box together out of, again, kind of random used Snap-on tools I had sitting around. I just bought this M12 Milwaukee 3/8 electric ratchet to replace my dead Mac, and I think I really like it. The centerpiece here, obviously, is this cool Snap-on standard socket set. It's got shallows and deeps. This holder is not magnetic, but it's sitting on a little magnetic pad, so they tend to stay put pretty well. Miraculously, I haven't lost any yet. Because I originally outfitted this thing to go drag racing, it's full of all kinds of useful stuff. Both sizes of spark plug socket, Holley pump cams, timing stops for MSD style distributors, earplugs, gotta have earplugs, the Lone Wolf 9 Millions in here, some little, Demon paraphernalia, of course. Did I say vacuum gauge? Vacuum gauge. Here's one of the most useful tools imaginable. A tiny funnel to shove in your carb breathers to pre-fill the bowls. And of course, some priceless Mopar parts. In here, Carter Edelbrock needle, jet, spring kit. Spare perfectly good accelerator pump. Some different lengths of wire. Pump discharge nozzles in there. Here's a mini ratchet handle, that's a Matco. Here's a random power torque ratchet. Yep, that's what I use. Not a Snap-on. One extension. Nice speed handle. I mostly only use this thing for building engines. And as you can see, there's most of a random set of Snap-on wrenches in here, although I'm missing 11/16, which is really inconvenient. There's a window marker for writing race numbers on the car. And in here, screwdrivers, pliers, and some electrical bits. Random power torque junk that works just fine. Ooh, stripper crimpers I bought on the 68 Charger trip. Very handy. One Snap-on Phillips, one Mac flathead, and then the rest of my third set of Matco screwdrivers. For some reason, I don't have needle nose pliers in here, and for some other reason, my normal pliers are missing. That's fine. Pay attention to that. That might be important. This isn't a toolbox, but it is a bag of things I use for construction projects and handyman crap. Ooh, fancy house beater. I want to circle back to this drawer and this friggin' thing. I paid way too much money for that thing, and it really hasn't stood the test of time. It's still working, barely, but the electronics in it are half fried. I also have a well-abused Snap-on jump box that someone dragged along a street behind a golf cart for some reason. It still works, but the electronics in it are half fried. I think that covers all the tools in all the tool boxes. But the best tool in the shop? This thingy over here, which I've only just added. But now I'm wondering how I lived without that for so long. Who am I kidding? The best tool in the shop is definitely me. Someone had to say it. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I think it's pretty obvious by this point that I'm a humongous tool snob and I have way too much money invested in this stuff. If I were to do it all again, Harbor Freight. No, I think if I were to do it all again, I'd do exactly the same thing. I like the nice tools. I don't really have any regrets there, but I could have been a little smarter with my money, that's all I'm saying. Seriously though, you don't need a super expensive Matco box that you'll be paying off till the end of time, and you don't need Snap-on tools. You can get it done with Craftsman just fine. I knew that the whole time, but I did this anyway. And that's all I have to say about that. Now I gotta throw some more tools at this Studebaker engine. Try and get that thing out of here. What kind of tools do you like to use? Do you have $50,000 in your toolbox? Are you a Harbor Freight guy or a Snap-on guy? Let me know in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed looking at all my crap. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, and remember, there are only 2 days you enjoy a boat, and neither of them is today.